Hello, this is a video made for technical writing on using surveys for your technical manual. So what can surveys do to help technical communications? Well, there are two main times that you will use it when making a manual. The first is before you start. So for your proposals, you might want to consider conducting a survey, whether formal or informal, to find out what are users' most frequent tasks. What are their most confusing tasks? How do they usually solve problems that they encounter with whatever it is that you're writing about? And this will give you an idea of your audience's needs and how you can address them in the manual. Once completing the project, you can use a survey to determine the usability of the manual. Two basic kinds of survey questions, open-ended and closed-ended. Open-ended questions allow respondents to answer in their own words. They allow for unanticipated responses. They generate wide-ranging answers, which can be very good because it's not limited to your preconceived ideas. They can be difficult if you're taking a lot of surveys because they're difficult to categorize, they're difficult to code, and also it takes respondents longer to answer them. So that means that some people actually won't answer those questions. Closed-ended questions are a lot easier to handle when you have a large number of people taking the survey. They're more reliable than open-ended questions because it's more likely that people will answer the same way each time. They're easy to code. If you use something like SurveyMonkey to create your question, it will automatically just show you the statistics for all of those. They're a lot quicker for people to answer, so you're a lot more likely to get people to answer. Some of the difficulties are they can be biased or leading, and the answers that are listed may not accurately reflect what people want to say. Occasionally I've taken a phone survey rather, for something political, and someone will ask me a question and I'll say, well, neither, and then they don't know what to do because they're just trying to click something on their end. So guidelines for good questions. Try to avoid jargon. Use plain and direct language. Make it specific. So instead of saying, what do you do when you can't determine where to click, give a context for it. What do you do on a web page where you can't determine where to click to access X information? Avoid loaded questions. Break compound questions into individual ones. Also balance positive and negative questions. People are more likely to respond positively to a question phrased in the positive. So if you ask something like, how much do you agree with this statement? I am very satisfied with the service. They're more likely to say highly agree than they are to strongly disagree with the statement, I am dissatisfied with the service. For answers to closed questions, you can use yes or no answers. You can use multiple choice. You can use rating scales such as the Likert scale. And Likert is the code word for this video. Likert. That's the code word. It'll be on the quiz. A Likert scale usually ranges from 1 to 5, and they've done a lot of research that shows 1 to 5 is the best number for it. It usually ranges from something like strongly disagree, mildly disagree, neutral, agree, strongly agree. Comparative rating scales are when you put something in order based upon its level of importance. Clear, easy-to-read surveys are more likely to be completed. So create a descriptive title. Use a short introduction that tells the reader why you're asking these questions. And once they know why, and once they feel like that their input actually matters, they're more likely to take the time to do it. Also, try to make your survey no longer than it needs to be. Somebody else on the phone asked me if I would be willing to take a 10-minute phone survey. And I said no, and they said, will there be another time? And I said, there will never be a time that I'll be willing to take a 10-minute phone survey. I mean, who designs that? 3 or 5 minutes, sure, but 10 it's really getting up there. On reporting survey data, think about qualitative versus quantitative, and there's a video for you to watch about qualitative versus quantitative. Qualitative data comes from open-ended questions. Quantitative data comes from closed-ended questions. So a survey can be both qualitative and quantitative. Next, I'm going to show you some links up on our Blackboard page. This is the Blackboard page for the virtual lesson that you are now taking. You can see that the video lecture isn't yet posted because I'm currently making it. There is a quiz here on surveys, so that's the lesson that you need to complete. There's a video to watch about qualitative research. And then I wanted to show you some of these links. So the first one is survey guidelines for looking at government usability, advice on surveys. So it tells you when to conduct an online survey, the best practices for developing online surveys, keeping it as brief as possible, some of the advice that we've already talked about, and consider if users are able to find the information that they seek and how satisfied users are with your site. So these are questions that are often used to develop a website. These questions are for measuring satisfaction. So I'm going to scroll down here to the actual questions. Oh, sorry, this site doesn't have the actual questions. This site has advice on it. It has advice on analyzing the data, and if you have a lot of open-ended questions, one of the things that you can do is actually create a word cloud from it, and it has an Excel tool that it allows you to use to create a word cloud that will color code according to the level of importance, whereas Wordle it just randomly color codes what it's doing. So their method of taking a survey I think is very interesting because they have words on cards and they ask people to choose the 5 words that they think of when they're thinking of a particular product, and then explain why they chose that word. I think it's a very interesting open-ended method. Okay, this link has these sample customer questions on it. And this is for a customer satisfaction survey. So you'll notice it says CSR. This is it's about corporate responsibility. So this is a Likert scale, strongly disagree to strongly agree. And here it has some questions that you can just fill in the blank on these just to determine how well a company is doing, but you can also use these in a usability survey to think about how effective is this manual. So you can say, you know, my experience with using the manual, it was terrible, it was okay, it was good, it was excellent. And then here's an open-ended question. This is always good to include at the bottom. It just gives people an opportunity to address. Often I'll actually address some problems with the questions itself in this final box, but that's just something that I do. And the system usability scale, I think it has some really interesting models of questions for you. So this is actually developed in the 1980s and it's still used. I'm scrolling down to the questions and you can see this is a Likert scale. So things like, I think that I would like to use this system frequently. I found the system unnecessarily complex. Now look, see, this is a positive phrased question and this is a negative phrased question, and it's good to balance those. I thought the system was easy to use. I think I would need the support of a technical person to be able to use this system. These are the kind of questions that will definitely come in handy when you are developing your usability test. Okay, I wanted to show you those so that you can see some of the different advice that's out there on the internet, some of the different options that are available to you. The last thing I'm going to tell you about is Qualtrics. On the virtual lesson, on the quiz part of it, I've asked you to take a Qualtrics survey. It's actually this link right here. Please note that you can only take it once from a particular computer. Qualtrics is a robust surveying tool. It's free for us. Corporations have to pay big money for it. Actually, UT pays big money for it. It's very dependable. If you're doing anonymous surveys, if you're doing surveys for a class or for a project or anything you're going to end up publishing, Qualtrics really is the way to go. You don't have limits on the type of question. You don't have limits on the number of questions. If you're just doing something shorter, then often SurveyMonkey is a perfectly valid way to go. Some other options are handing somebody a pen and paper survey or asking them yourself, either on the phone or in person. For usability, you'll also ideally want to watch someone using something to see how well they use it. Okay, you are not required to use a survey, but I think using surveys to determine your user's needs will be helpful, and also to determine usability will also be helpful. Next, please take this survey's virtual lesson. I'm going to rename this so it's a little more obvious that it's a quiz. It's a Blackboard test, but it just has forms on it for you to take. Actually, I'll go ahead and show you the questions so you know what to predict. Okay. So I've asked you the difference between qualitative and quantitative. Give 2 examples of closed questions. This asks for question 10 on that survey that I mentioned to you already. And this one is an analysis of a sample survey. If you want, you can use this one for your analysis, but you'll have to do it before you close it. Once you close that survey, you can't open it again. Or you can use a different one. Please do indicate which one you're doing and then complete the analysis. And then this question asks for the code word, which I've already told you was Likert. Okay, have a lovely fall break, and I'll see you when you get back. Just email me if you have any questions in the meantime.